I met a Gypsy.
You talked about Mitch being like one of the guys, and then we long tangent off of it.
Yeah.
So what was it about Mitch? Like, and how did you even get to that point where you got that ride with Mitch?
Well, I think I got the ride because I led the Seattle Supercross. I kind of stumbled into a factory Suzuki ride in '97, basically because I was living with Red Dog. He was their East Coast 125 guy, and they needed a West Coast last minute, and I just happened to be right place, right time. I'll do it. I wasn't ready for a factory ride, or did I deserve it? No, but I wasn't gonna say no. So I got that, and then I led the Seattle Supercross for, I think, maybe 11, 12 laps. And I think that's what caught Mitch's attention and then ultimately got me the ride. So I started with him. I was still kind of in that zone of like working hard, almost trying too hard, wanting it too much, and crashing a lot because I was just willing to risk it all in every moment. I didn't pick and choose my moments. I was just going. But what got me with Mitch, because it didn't start off good. It wasn't good at first because basically he was so hard on me, on everyone. I never been treated that way. My parents raised me as like, you give 100% all the time. What more can you do? Like all you can do is try your hardest, like, and not cut corners, and even with your training or whatever. As long as you're doing that, we'll never be mad at you. Well, Mitch, that didn't fly with him. 100% wasn't good enough. It needed to be 100%, and you needed to get the results that we were all hoping for. So we went round and round, and I mean, there was one point where I can't remember how it went down, but I told him, I was like, I can't stand you. I'm like, if I win, I don't want you to get credit. Like you're the worst person I've ever dealt with. I can't believe you speak to me the way you speak. I just like, I don't know who you think you are. And like, soon as I stood up to him, I think that's what he was looking for. Then our relationship got better, right? Because I wasn't disrespectful. I was just like, man, I had enough. Like, nothing's ever good enough. You talk to me like I'm just, I'm not the same. I'm not motivated by this. That's what I think I told him that. So ultimately, once we kind of got past that, I think he realized like maybe he can't treat me exactly the same as he's treated everyone else. He
like
kind of had a recipe.
Matt Walker.
Yeah, like he kind of had a recipe where, his brother was in the military, and he kind of worked it that way. Break them down, break them down and then build them up, which obviously he's had tons of success. So there's definitely works, but I was a little different. And I think we kind of learned each other. And from that point on, man, it was just like all the testing for myself as well as the rest of the team, donations, like I did it all. Like, and I can remember being at the tracks on those long days of testing and going, man, this is awesome to be here and be a part of this and this whole process. Cause he was always having fun and joking around, Bundy would be bent over working on the motorcycle and he'd hit him in the head with the T-handle. I mean, it was just fun stuff. I mean, Bundy tackle him out of his chair. Like, we just had a great time, and we were testing and making progress most of the time.
Yeah.
And I just learned a lot from him about the sport and growing up and learning that, not everybody's always going to go, 100% is good enough. Like there's more to it. So I learned a ton from him. And he's always been, anytime I've had, questions or thoughts or things that I just couldn't figure out with the people that were around me at the moment, I could always call him. When I lost my deal at San Manuel and kind of was like, okay, should I retire? Should I not? I would call him, get into a management position. I called him and asked him questions on how he handled certain things. So he's just a stand-up guy with just a lot of integrity in our sport. And so I really respected him and learned a lot from him along the way. And then also Jeff Spencer was my trainer. And Jeff taught me a whole lot how to connect life to your sport, and look at the bigger picture. Kind of sometimes you're so close, you can't see everything. You take a step back and everything kind of starts to make sense, So Spencer was huge. And then, like I told you before, I absorbed as much as I could from everyone. I learned a lot from Ezra, his dad, Ronnie, Red Dog, his dad, there's just been so many people. It's hard for me to name them because I think everybody kind of took me under their wing and just helped. You know, It was really awesome.
So, yeah, because you were from Tennessee and you didn't really grow up in the scene.
Mm-mm.
And there's so much like weird assumed knowledge that you have when you just like did the amateur circuit and your dad drove to every race and then your dad knows the team manager. Like there's like so much that you get that you sort of almost don't even know that you get. And then someone like you that's coming in fresh.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure you were very lost.
Yeah, I mean, you just learn every step of the way, and that's why I wanted to be around good people. Not to mention I liked them and enjoyed being around them, so I wasn't using everyone.
Yeah,
it was more of a mutual thing where I just happened to be around really good people that had learned a lot, done a lot, and were capable of a lot. You know, so. But yeah, I mean, my dad didn't even. I mean, he knew how to ride a motorcycle, but he never raced, never even really trail rode. He rode probably more street bikes than anything, and then coming from a small town where there wasn't a lot of competition locally at the tracks. And so it wasn't long before I started riding and started winning locally. And then my eyes were open when I traveled out of town to Muddy Creek for my first travel race. And got whooped up on pretty good there. And
what made you want to do it or think that you could do it pro?
Well, so I have an older brother. He's 3 years older than me, and we always enjoyed riding. And then ultimately racing. And I actually had a friend when we were 12. So I had already raced a couple times. And then one of my, there's like three of us in this we had a bigger group, but we were really tight. He died on a motorcycle.
No way.
And so I had broken my leg, like my fourth race ever, broke my leg. And I was already kind of on the outs with it. And when he passed away, I was like, you know what? I'm over it. Skateboarded competitively for, until I was 15. And then my brother went racing. Again, he kind of dusted off the old motorcycle. And
once he was like 18, getting a car and doing his own thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess that's sort of the way it went down. But he went and started racing again, and then just was like, hey, man, you're missing out. You got to try this again. So I dusted off my old bike, the same one that I broke my leg on, and I was hooked. And then, I mean, like I said, it wasn't until I won that Phoenix Supercross that I really thought I could make it in this sport. But there was one time I had a pretty big crash at Muddy Creek, landed on a guy, and then, like, broke my collarbone and kind of had a scab from the tire on my neck where it was spinning on my neck. And I was like, I just don't think I'm going to make it. I was working for Pizza Hut, delivering pizzas, just kind of thinking, okay, I'm going to be normal, go into a normal life. And my brother, again, was like, I think you can make it. So it was really him that kind of pulled me out when I was thinking there's no way. And so I'm like, all right, I'll get going again, and just kind of, again, I sort of through
just didn't quit,
just grit and just determination. But there was plenty of doubts. Even when I was factory rider, I had probably more doubts than I should have, of if I belonged or, it was like I had to prove it to myself almost on a daily basis that I was good enough. Because I never thought of myself as being as good as the guys I was racing against. But when I'd get in a race, then I would go, oh, this is not that hard. I can keep up. Maybe I can beat them, It was just weird. It's just such a weird growth and way to push yourself by just not thinking you're good enough,
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.